Hey, it's Camo, and we're here at the Pie Wagon for the Nashville Access Pie Wagon Sessions. We're going to start calling that because it just sounds really cooler than saying it's another Facebook Live. But it is a Facebook Live, and we're here on Music Row with our special guest today, Shantell Ogden. How you doing?
I'm great, great. Thanks for having me out today. This is fun.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah. Kind of the post-CMA Awards fun. So, this is where the cool people hang out.
The post party.
Yeah, notice how few people are here for the post party. We were just talking about the CMA Awards, and you said you were out at the writers' round last night. So
yeah, I caught the beginning,
yeah.
Which of course read about it and all the winners and stuff. Yeah. So it's exciting.
And the one thing last night that really gave so many songwriters hope was Maren Morris.
Yeah.
Saying, last year I was across the street watching it on TV, and there she is.
And there she is. Yeah, that's the magic of Nashville, I think.
Yeah. So speaking about the magic of Nashville, how long have you been here?
I've been here 11 years. Wow. Yeah.
That almost makes you a native.
Pretty much, I'd say so. Yeah.
And you do more of an Americana kind of thing than kind of mainstream country. Tell us about your kind of music.
So I think for me, I'm both a writer and an artist, and so the things I do as an artist it's more in the Americana genre, because really what I do is too traditional for current country radio, right?
Yeah.
So Jim Lauderdale was saying at Americana Fest, he's talking about, he's great, and he was talking about, really what people think country music is these days is what you hear on top 40 radio, because that's what it is to most people. But so Americana is more kind of a broader, inclusive genre that pulls in kind of more traditional sounding and roots music and kind of has that blues element. There's not a lot of blues in today's current country music like there used to be.
There used to be.
Yeah.
And I always say, and people kind of give me a goofy look when I say it, that Americana is, a lot of it is what country used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see that by the migration of the artists, right? So Leanne Womack and people like Marty Stewart, they really transitioned more into the Americana genre,
And I like what Dale Watson has been doing, because he even takes that down further, and he's got the Metropolitan Awards where he says, okay, a lot of Americana is just too big, because Tom Petty is Americana now. You can have like the Blind Boys of Alabama and the Time Jumpers, which are two entirely different things. So it's a big thing. So he takes the honky tonk and Western swing, and he makes that all a genre that's the really pure country stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
It is cool, yeah. And of course, as a writer, I write mainstream country. In fact, there's a single out on there's a single out on the Music Row charts right now with an artist named James Robert Webb.
Oh, cool.
And he has a song that I co-wrote called "Put It in Drive," and it's straight up, radio friendly country. So, and then of course I also write pop music for film and TV, and because a lot of those placements are more on the pop side. And
that was something I wanted to talk about with film and TV placement. I'm finding a lot more of the writers are going towards that because that pays money, good money.
It can. It definitely can for the right placements, for sure, yeah. So I think there's definitely opportunity there.
And the film and production people love dealing with independent artists because they don't have all the layers that big label artists have that they have to go through.
Yeah, and I think, on the good side, there is sort of that more direct connection. On the more challenging side, artists and writers who are representing themselves, there's a learning curve that's involved on the legal side, the paperwork and all the things that you have to do to be able to license your music correctly so you're protected. You want to make sure that you have the protection on the copyright and all those things.
Is that cool when if you're watching a TV show and it's like, that's my song?
So last year I had, I think it was last year, I had a song on a show called Heart of Dixie, and it was on the CW network, and we actually had a view party because it was just cool to see and you start getting excited when the scene's coming up, and but yeah, it's really exciting, and it's interesting because they don't always use the song exactly like you think they will. You know, so sometimes they'll cut it. You know, they'll take like the first verse and then it'll go like into the bridge because that's what fits the scene. Yeah. So that's an interesting what they want. Yeah. So that makes sense.
And when you're getting it on those really commercial programs, that's what hey, a friend of mine, the writer Sam Gay, he had one placed in an independent documentary called Unbranded, which was a really cool movie.
Yeah.
But you had to listen to that song. You know, it wasn't as in your face as it would be in a really commercial production.
Yeah, and I think that it just, I mean, we could spend a whole lot of time talking about how that works, but you know, there's different types of placement. So there's background music, and there's source music, and there's featured music, and then there's instrumental music, and depending on what those uses are, it really defines your paycheck, right?
Let's talk about your record. You've got a brand new record. We'll hold this up here. The Road That Drives Me is the brand new record by it's a CD and a download, but we still use the term. It's Shantell's brand new record. Tell us about this. This is really cool.
So I wanted to do a project that was a little more authentic and roots driven in the music, and I wanted to get a more live sound in the studio. So I worked with musicians who primarily, not that they don't do studio work, but they primarily are road type musicians. And they go out and play with artists like Leanne Womack and some of the great artists in town. So just really wanted to capture that. So the songs are kind of along the same lines. Like I really tried to be authentic and real in the storytelling for this record. So the title track, "The Road That Drives Me," is actually it's kind of my follow your heart, follow your dreams song. You know, it's about the things that pull on your sleeve, and I think we all have those things that we're passionate about, and we wanna pursue our passions. And so that's the song, "The Road That Drives Me," is really an anthem to kind of staying true to who you are and following your dreams.
That's a tough thing to do in Nashville, isn't it?
I think there are definitely challenges. I would be lying if I said that there weren't. You know, I think I've heard it described a lot of different ways. One of the best things I heard when I came to town was that, you know, you come to town with sort of a dream, and that only gets you so far. Yeah. And then you have to figure out how you're going to live, and you're paying your bills, and how you're going to build a network of people who believe in what you're doing and help people, and they'll help you. And it's very much a networking kind of town, and it's about relationships, and that doesn't really happen overnight, you know.
I remember hearing a story that Blake Shelton told. You know, he came to town to be a songwriter, and he thought that was all he was going to do, was write songs. And then he realized he had no food, and you know, it's like, well, you got to do something else. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think that's true. I of course went to Berklee College of Music, and I get the opportunity to meet with a lot of newcomers to town that are coming here, moving down from Boston, and one of the things we talk about is sort of like, okay, how are you going to sustain? Because that's, I know Eddie Bears always says that too, like you've got to find a way to sort of sustain yourself while you're doing what you need to do to build your network out.
So Berklee, that's you learn a lot of really technical music stuff up there. And then I guess it's like any other business. You learn all the technical, the theory, and then you're unleashed into the real world and you go, holy crap, nobody told me about this. Is that even more of a shock coming from someplace like Berklee to Nashville?
That's a really great question. I think for me, I was already a songwriter before I went there. I'd already done a couple of sort of trunk projects, you know, in my friend's basement, and I'd already done some touring, and so I feel like I went there with a little bit of an artist identity and a writer identity, and what Berklee gave me was it helped me pay more attention to the tools and the techniques of writing songs and what really writers were doing that got me in my gut, you know, that made my heart sort of feel something. And then, you know, you kind of go through this really clinical place and you learn tools, and then you come out of it, and it took me a while to sort of get back to my creative voice and not thinking so technically, but thinking about the emotion, right? Because that really, to me, that's what makes great songs. It's the, you know, the best songs are songs for me that like make you think or make you feel or present a new idea or just entertain. Sometimes it's just about a smile on somebody's face, you know. So, but I love my experience at Berklee, and certainly, you know, you don't need to go to school to be a songwriter or a musician. There's a lot of people that don't, you know, and I think about people that, like Mike Reed's a good example. You know, he was a pro football player, had nothing to do with music, but always loved music, and when he finished, he could tear, and you know, he has written some mega hits since then. So you just never know kind of what that journey will be for any of us, really.
You seem to have a lot more popularity internationally than here in the U.S. Is that the case?
Well, I mean, I definitely have fans here and across the pond. I think what I like about going overseas is that they over there, it's the market is a little different than it is in the U.S., and I can actually do radio promotion in country and Americana there, because there's really, you know, what I do here in the U.S. isn't considered country. Over there it is, and it's also Americana over there. So I have the fortunate opportunity to play at Americana festivals and country festivals, and my publicist actually is in the UK, and they really like songs that have a lot of heart and meaning there. And, you know, for better or worse, I'm just not the truck and tailgates girl. My fans really aren't truck and tailgates people. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's what you're doing.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And I never criticize somebody for liking those types of songs or those types of artists. But I also know who I am and who my fans are, and what makes me driven as an artist is to connect to those people and really to say something that I feel is true to me. And so I'm more likely to write a song about, you know, I have a song on here called Different Sides of the Mississippi, and it's about kind of a relationship drifting apart. And it's a story song, and I'm more likely to write those kind of songs than I am to write, you know, honky tonk badonka donk or whatever. And that's just me, you know. And it's nothing against those writers or those artists. It's just I know who I am, you know.
Do you have? There are some writers that have specific themes that you can always. They'll mention something in the song. You know, I don't know, like Flint River Bridge. You know who's written that song. Is there anything like that? A little thing that you tend to work into a lot of songs that is kind of a subconscious, this is who I am, thing for those songs?
I don't think anybody's ever asked me that.
Finally, I got a question that nobody.
I think, no. Listen, for me, even in the saddest of songs, I try to have just a little glimmer of hope. So, and I feel like that's really reflective of me as a person. Like no matter how bad things get, my grandpa always used to say, no matter how bad things get, there's always something good that will come out of it. And so, like in the Mississippi song, for example, like the last verse or the last chorus, it kind of turns and it says like, look, we don't have to be on different sides of the Mississippi. Like we can pull this thing back if we want to. And so I think that's something that I try to weave into my songs, and then I also try to look for things that are a little different, you know, that aren't as expected as a writer, and you know, I don't know, I have a line in one of the songs that you know, instead of just saying, well, like, you know, those relationships that you kind of just it's kind of like this. If you miss the person, you know, it says, you know, close call kisses. You know, there was some close call kisses, and so it's like I try to be a little more interesting than just saying, well, that was the one that didn't work out, you know. So I think and I think most writers are like that. We try to say things in a way that's a little different.
And that's hard when you're dealing with emotions that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, and relationships really haven't changed all that much at the very heart of them in thousands and thousands of years. The language is still the same language, and trying to say something new about all the stuff that everybody already knows about.
That is the great challenge, right? And you know, you can look at a blank piece of paper, and it's like going into the gym and lifting weights. You know, it's like that blank piece of paper can kick your butt like nothing else. Because you're sitting there going, oh my gosh. But then you also realize, you know, one of the most liberating experiences I had in Nashville it was like 11 years ago. It was when I first was coming to town. Craig Wiseman and Tim Nichols did a workshop, and this was for Berkeley. Before I moved down here, they did this workshop for a trip that Berkeley does. And we came into the room to watch them co-write a song. And I mean, I was sitting there, I was like expecting the heavens to part, you know, this angel to come down and to deliver a song like Live Like You Were Dying in front of us, you know, and I was so excited. And they sat there for an hour, and they got very little to nothing. They got like a little tiny guitar riff, and like, I don't think they got a title, they didn't get any lyrics, they got nothing. And it was the most liberating thing I have ever experienced, because for me, and I told this to Tim later when I ran into him at the Walmart, I was like, look, I said, you don't understand. Like, I thought to myself, if these guys, as hit songwriters, the top of their game, can look at a piece of paper and sweat's pouring out and nothing's coming, I can do it too. Yeah. And you know, Craig said that same session, he said, you know, he said, the thing is, if you want to catch a fish, you got to go fishing. And I think about that too. Like, if you want to write, fishing, not catching. Exactly. If you want to write, you got to sit down and try to come up with something, because you're not gonna. I mean, I guess there's some people that are sort of like always divinely inspired, but a lot of times it is about, you set up an appointment, you have some ideas, you sit down for 3-4 hours, and you flush it out. And that's kind of how it works in Nashville. You know,
I remember the story about Red Solo Cobb, and you know, these guys had a regular writing session, and they all show up at the studio, and they said, I got nothing. Nobody had anything to say. So just to pull the plug on things, well, let's pick something laying around that we can write a song about. They picked a Red Solo Cobb. They thought it was the goofiest thing they'd ever written. Nobody's ever going to cut this. But they put it down as a demo. Then they heard Toby Keith was looking for something different. So they thought, well, we'll submit it, but there's no way he's going to cut this. And they cut it, and it turns out to be such a huge song.
It's a huge hit,
And it's just fun. It's just
it's one of those kind of different fun songs.
Speaking of fun stuff, how about you pick up your guitar?
Oh, I'd love to. And while you're doing that, Anja says, hi, Shantell. Oh, my friend Anja from Denmark. How are you, Anja?
She's a real follower. She's on all of Facebook.
She's great. She helped me out a couple of years ago getting some shows over in that area. So
yeah, we love her. She's always checking in and saying hi.
Yeah, she's great. All right, well, I'm going to do a song called The Truth About Trains, which was my lead-off single from the new record.
Sweet.
Hear them whistle and I'd go running. Love was just like an engine humming, sparks, steam, and fire. Yeah, we ran on that for a while. But the truth about trains is they come and they painted pretty pictures. When you said those things, was your heart still with her? Thinking that you'd always go back, like a diesel staring down the track. Yeah, the truth about trains is they come and they go. They get what they need, then they leave, disappearing to a cloud of smoke. The truth about trains is they leave you blue. Yeah, they can't feel your cold heart still. That's the truth about trains and you. This might sound crazy, but sometimes lately sit at the station just waiting for you. But the truth about trains is they come and they go. They get what they need, then they leave, disappearing to a cloud of smoke. The truth about trains is they leave you blue. Yeah, they can't feel your cold heart still. That's the truth about trains. That's the truth about you.
Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Shantell Ogden. It's funny when I listen to people perform, and I'm always trying to figure out influences and stuff. And I'm hearing some Nancy Griffith, maybe, and vocally a little bit of Susie Boggess.
Yeah, I mean, I love those artists, and of course, grew up listening to them. And you know, who can't respect great female artists like that who are so? I mean, they're fierce as songwriters. They're just fierce, and as artists as well. So I appreciate that. That's very kind. Yeah.
Do you have anybody that you've kind of looked at their career and say that's the path that I want to follow, or are you more about just totally saying I don't care what anybody else has done, I'm carving my own path? I got her again.
Well, but darn, it might be too early for these questions. You're stumping me.
Hey, nobody said this was light entertainment.
This is a hard-hitting interview. Well, so I think it's maybe a combination of both for me.
Yeah.
So there are definitely artists that I respect, like Mary Gaucher. So I went to a panel that she was on. She was actually talking about touring in the UK, and she said, I'm really not a flashy artist. She said, I'm kind of a one person, one heart at a time kind of artist. And she said, I kind of grow my career. She's like, I'm not a YouTube sensation or anything like that. She's like, I'm a kind of a one person, one fan at a time. And I do feel like that's something that I have in common with her career, is that, I'm, kind of growing slowly. It's steady and it's growing, and there are moments when there's a lot of momentum, and there's other moments where there's just, it's just kind of a slow thing. And, on one hand, I look at some of the people that have come to town and they've sort of taken off real quick. And on another hand, I think about how grateful I am to have had the time to really hone it in on my craft and to produce work. So in 10 years of being here, I've released 5 records in 10 years.
Wow.
And so I talked to my good friend Ed Gertler, who also does my digital distribution, and he's like, Shantell, he's like, when people discover you, what's cool is that they can go back and there's this backlog of work. I'm not a one album, hey, I just showed up and here's my new record. I have this track record of work, and I've just been incredibly blessed to meet some fantastic co-writers and friends and who have taken that journey with me, and who I've written with for years. And so I definitely am grateful that I'm kind of one of those one heart at a time kind of writers, because I feel like that's sustainable for the long term.
But does it ever get frustrating when you see somebody just blow into town, boom, they got a deal, and boom, they're on the radio with a hit? Does that, as an artist that's been plugging away and building a nice career, do you ever have that moments where it's like, I hate you?
I mean, I think there's definitely things that are hard that come along that you go, man, I've been trying to do that for 7 years, and that person's been here 6 months. I mean, I think we're human, right? We're humans, and of course there is. I think we all have the tendency to compare, right? Whether it's in music or houses or jobs or whatever, right? There's always. I think that's just kind of a human thing, right? But I also have been here long enough to see that the same people that you meet on the way up, you meet on the way down. And I've seen people who literally have like, I mean, I knew one person moved to town, 6 months later they had a development deal with like legitimate label, you know, they had a hit song, they had a publishing deal, they had a song out, and then, you know, like in the cycle of 2 or 3 years, you know, they were basically back to where they started, but with less, because of what that experience financially and professionally and personally had taken on their relationships. And you know, I guess what I'm saying is, it's Nashville's, for good or for bad, I mean, it's driven by the business, and it's kind of a Monday morning town. You know, what have you done for me lately? And that is, there's a challenge in that, but at the same time, like, I feel that, you know, there's also an honesty in it. And you know, that's when I just come down to faith, and it's like, God knows my path, and I know that I'm supposed to be on this path. I know it. There's only a couple things I know, like maybe 3. And one of those things I know is that I'm supposed to be on this path. Now, he's made no guarantees about what happens on the path or what success will come, and I'm certainly working towards big goals and big successes, and enjoying the successes that I've had and the smaller things I've had, and just the opportunity. I mean, it's really amazing to me that a small town girl who grew up in rural Utah, one stoplight, can go play in a festival in England for 100 people with an acoustic guitar, and people actually singing along to songs that I've written.
That's really cool.
And I mean, that, like, I think back on that, and I'm like, this is from what I wanted from my life when I was young, and I was, you know, just doing the small town thing, to what my life is now. Like, I couldn't have planned anything like this. But it's a journey that, you know, the door was open. It was clear that I needed to pursue this. And I think about that song, Humble and Kind, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, just try to be humble and kind on the journey, and even when your dreams come true, still be humble and kind, you know? Try to help the next person. Yeah.
I think that's a great note to just hear another song on it.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Well, I don't want to bring it down too much, so I'm going to do a happy.
All right.
I don't have a lot of happy love songs.
That's all right.
You asked me what some of my traits were.
Okay.
That's probably one of them. I don't write a lot of happy love songs. Right. But I'm going to do one.
Okay. A Happy Love Song by Shantell Ogden.
Say it happens when you give up, never when you're looking. Guess I had to live some to start seeing what I couldn't. Well, there ain't nothing simple about a man and a woman, and my share of near misses. There were all those close call kisses, even many good men who held my hand and talked about forever. But whoa, whoa, love knew better. Got tired of the waiting. Hadn't found my king of hearts yet, but the game became worth playing on the day that we met. love knew better. Love was there, it wasn't blind. Saw me and you the whole time. And my share of near misses. There were all those close call kisses. Even met a good man who held my hand and talked about forever. Whoa, 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 love knew better. Whoa, 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 love knew better.
Very nice.
Thank
cool
you.
Song.
Thank you.
And it was a happy love song. You've been in town for 10 years, and in that 10 years, not only has the geographical landscape of Nashville changed, but the music business has changed a lot. Has that affected you on your end? I mean, it really affects people more at the top ends of the business, but has it affected you in the past 10 years?
I think it definitely has, and the reason I would say it definitely has is someone said to me recently, they said, how long have you been here? I said, like 10 years, a little over 10 years. And they said, oh, you came when things started to get really weird. And I laugh at that, but I did. I came when the industry was kind of in this shift in a way, and you know, it's been really interesting to kind of watch sort of the old traditional models shift. And you know, when I came to town, you know, I wouldn't have thought 10, 11 years ago that social media and all of these kind of things that have really changed the way people consume music, you know, all those things were pretty new when I came here. You know, Pandora was just launching, and you know, there's some interesting things in the business side that have definitely changed a lot. And in some ways, it's been challenging because that pie of money that comes in from music has shrunk and has changed. And so that has meant fewer cuts and fewer deals and fewer of everything. And at the same time, like, the opposite way to look at it is that there is opportunity in that. Like, every change brings an opportunity.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's where the exciting things for me are that there are opportunities when those changes happen in the industry. So
speaking of social media and stuff, tell people where they can connect with you.
Yeah, so my website is just my name, ChantellOgden.com, and basically you can go to any of my social media links from there, or if you can just remember Shan's Music, S-H-A-N-S Music, that will take you to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So it's all the same little tag.
Buy the record. You can stream it.
You can buy it from me.
Yeah.
You can buy it from iTunes. You can buy it from, you know, my mom, because she's my local distributor in Utah. I have it available for sale on my website. So
streaming is fine, but you get like 0.0001 cents.
Yeah.
So go and buy it so she actually gets to eat tonight.
Yeah.
Buy the record so Chantell.
I like you. I like it. I like the way you think.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's so great to be on, and I appreciate everybody who's tuning in.
Will you come back again sometime?
I would love to.
Excellent.
I'd be honored. Thank
Done
you.
deal.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with some really cool stuff for you. It's Nashville Access Facebook Live. See you.
Bye.